All of these things are linked to light. Most of the things that nature provides for us are good. The problem is we need to understand how to use it.
Well, so you mentioned too much toxic effects of the sun. What are you referring to? You mean sunburn, or?
I'll give you a perfect example. I want people to think about, say, black people, and then think about Jack Kruse. Jack Kruse has freckles. He's Northern European. His mitochondrial haplotype from 23andMe says that I'm Northern European. So that means I'm far away from the equator. So I'm designed to work with very small amounts of light, okay? Now, a black person, let's take Usain Bolt. He lives in a subtropical zone close to the equator. His black skin protects him from the UV light. So he can spend more time in an equatorial zone than I can without having a problem. Here's the interesting part. I told you that I moved originally from New York City, well, my family from Germany and Ireland to New York City, then to Nashville. Now I'm in New Orleans. What happened? I built up a sun callus. In other words, I can take my Irish behind outside in sun, even in July here, for 5 to 6 hours. If I would have done that, say 4 years ago when I first moved, I couldn't do it. See, I've actually been able to build up that other biogenic amine we talked about earlier, melanin. See, people don't realize that dopamine, melatonin, serotonin, and melanin are all biogenic amines that are made from 3 amino acids, okay? And those 3 amino acids are aromatic. You don't need to know what that is. They just have rings in them. What makes them special is they all absorb UV light. So the more you assimilate UV light properly, you can actually raise your game. In other words, you are not confined to the mitochondrial DNA that you inherited from your mother. In other words, there's some play in it. And you have to figure out, as you change your environment, how much play is in it. And the only way you're going to know is to get off your duff and biohack it. That's what I teach all my people to do. And I'm showing you, I lived this life, and I've done it for 10 years. I used to be 360 pounds. Now I'm probably about 220, 230. And do I do things sometimes to gain weight? 2 years ago, I did a biohack to gain 50 pounds back on a paleo diet to prove to people it was not the diet, it was the light. What did I do? I sat in blue light for 6 months while I did the biohack.
Well, one thing for our listeners is that Dr. Kruse made the association between really the reasons behind seasonal affective disorder, right? Because serotonin, dopamine, crucial, sleep disturbances, crucial to the time of year. We see this abundance, especially at this time of the year. So dopamine, serotonin being inefficiently made.
Yes. That's really what happens. It's because they're inefficiently made because we don't have the proper frequencies of light because of the way we've constructed our lives. But I've already told you that the practical take home. Anna, how much does it cost to go outside when the sun rises?
Oh, it's free. I love free things.
Well, guess what? It's not that hard to do. The problem is what's hard is to want to change your life. And you know why change is hard? And I know you know this, Anna, but I don't think a lot of the people who are listening to this have made the connection. What does dopamine do? Dopamine is originally made in our eye in a place called the RPE. That's called the retinal pigmentum epithelium. Where does it go from there? It goes to our frontal lobes. When you have low dopamine in your frontal lobes, you know what you can't do? Change. The other thing you can't do, you don't see trends. Okay? What happens after the frontal lobes in humans? It goes to your brainstem. Where is that located? You've probably heard of this, called the substantia nigra. Okay? When that gets destroyed, you get a disease called Parkinson's disease. Okay? Dopamine is also located in the frontal and temporal lobes. What happens when it gets destroyed there? It's another disease you may have heard of. It's called Alzheimer's disease. Okay? All of these things are linked to light. And okay, you need to understand what you've been told by your doctors, by medical school, by the things that you read in Oprah's magazine are all wrong. Okay? And most of the things that nature provides for us are good. The problem is we need to understand how to use it. That's why I tell a lot of my good friends who are really religious, I said, you know, the Bible had it right. It said, let there be light. The problem is God didn't tell you what the recipe was after that. You have to live your life figuring it out. I think the problem is we've gotten too smart for our own bridges. We've created a world that actually has created alien suns around us, brought us from outside inside. So in that sense, I almost look at our houses almost as the Garden of Eden, where the apples lie. And that's a very counterintuitive way to look at what we're doing to ourselves, but that's functionally what we really are. And the cool part of my story is none of what I'm telling you right now is going to cost you very much money. All you have to do is realize that doing these changes will be hard for you because you have low dopamine in your frontal lobes. But if you do them very quickly, you're going to say, this is interesting.
And that willpower will carry on into other things. So for my listeners, I called Jack the other day because I've been working on my magic menopause plan, right? And that's why all of a sudden what I was doing wasn't working anymore. And certainly things have changed inside more. So really getting my body into ketosis, but also making sure I have enough of the greens on board to have that alkaline state. And I think where that's working is this whole photoelectric charge is improving my absorption of light and also the internal magnetism, right? The electron charge. And so that creating the fat loss and detoxification, right? Healthy detoxification, healthy fat loss will hold on to our fat if we're toxic as a safety mechanism, and helping with that release and also promoting sanity. And I want to say for women, one meal a day may not fuel our neurotransmitters as compared to men. I think men are more designed for that one meal, Jack, versus women.
I would tell you the women eventually who do this long term, my wife happens to be one of them. My wife, she'll kill me when I say this, but she's older than me. She's 57 years old. She looks better now than she did when she was in high school.
Nice.
And I will tell you that it took her 5 years to listen to me. The problem is when you're married to somebody who is doing something different. And this is a very important story probably for your listeners to hear. My wife stood in the shower every day when I went through my change. And for those of you who don't know, I lost 77 pounds in 3 months and 133 in 11 because I didn't even believe that this worked. My wife watched it. This is almost 10 years ago now. And she didn't do anything with this information for 5 years. Do you know why? Because her dopamine level was extremely low. We lived at the time in Nashville. And I told her, I said, Sandy, you need to take your clothes off and come outside with me like I do every morning. And this woman was religious. I would be outside at 5:30 in the morning in December and January, waiting for the sun to rise on my deck. My hair would be frozen. And she just looked at me. She goes, I just cannot believe you're doing this. And I told her, I said, let me explain something to you about dopamine. So not only does UV light make it, but do you know that cold makes dopamine as well? See, there's two pathways. See, biochemistry is thermoplastic.
We think about cold making that brown fat, so that increasing the mitochondria, more metabolically efficient.
No, cold it activates brown fat to actually become a fat burner. So what are you doing? You're turning the furnace on. That's the whole point. And when I started to make these links for her, she's like, she dipped her toe in the water. She said, I'm going to start trying this. And I knew it was probably about 5-6 years ago when she climbed into the pool with me in January when it was about 28 degrees. She goes, no, I'm going to try this. And she tried it. And I said, okay, now just come out because it was sunny. I said, sit outside. And I said, I want you to look in the direction of the sun for just 15 or 20 minutes with me, not directly at it, just off to the side. And in the beginning, the first 3 or 4 days, she would tear and cry because, the bright light bothered her. And I said, just so you know, that's a sign that you have low dopamine in your brain.
Wow.
She goes, okay. And I'll keep doing it. Within 3 or 4 days, tearing stopped. She's like, the crazy thing is I'm starting to sleep better, Jack. And I said, isn't that interesting the way dopamine makes melatonin? So I sat her down and she's like, So she kept doing it and doing it and doing it. She didn't say anything to her girlfriends, nothing. About 6 months in, she had dropped about 40 pounds. She was down to eating 2 meals a day. And the crazy thing is what she was eating changed dramatically. She would eat salads with seafood in it because we haven't talked about that part yet. How do you harness Sunlight Best, DHA, but it's got to be from seafood. And every time my wife got a little small clinical win, she asked me for the new part of the story. In other words, I gave her a new crumb to think about. And then the next thing you know, it was about 6 months in, she was doing everything I was doing, and I didn't have to twist her arm, but it took her 5 years to get it. And you know what I told her? I said, Sandy, the most important thing to me is I don't care if you want to kill yourself. I'm fine if you don't want to do this. I said, but do you realize that we got kids, and the kids are looking at you. They're looking at me. They see my change, and they're kind of shocked. But they want to know why mom's not doing anything. And I said, when they see you change, they're going to change. And here's the best part of the story. This is the most counterintuitive part that I'm ever going to say to a woman, because I told this to my wife. I'm going to tell it to you and your listeners. You have to realize that you are no good for your family until you are good for yourself. When I told my wife that the first time, she looked at me like I was an alien. And I said, why did I do this, Sandy, without you in the beginning? That's the reason why. I said, I knew that if this really worked, this could change everything about us. Now, 10, 12 years later, I got 2 kids that I don't have to worry about. They don't use, my son is a senior at UT Knoxville, up close to where you are, studying to be an engineer about building a new world that uses proper light frequencies to help people, because he got optimized when he was 15 years old. My daughter, she's 15 now. All of her friends that come over, they all have these blue blocking screens. They wear the glasses. They don't think my daughter's crazy anymore. They're like, this is nuts. When I'm doing this, I'm sleeping. None of her friends are able to sleep. Why? They have the cell phone right by their head, and they're constantly texting. That's why I said to you earlier, when you shunned, I could see your face when I said it. It is child abuse. The problem is, it's people back away when I say it because they don't understand the physics behind it. But when you understand it, then you begin to say, woof.
This episode of the show is sponsored by Julva. Julva is an all-natural anti-aging cosmetic cream for your delicate feminine parts, created by triple board certified OBGYN Dr. Anna Kabeka. If you want to stop embarrassing urine leaks, reduce vaginal discomfort and dryness, and reignite your intimate relationship, try Julva today at dranna.com and use the code SHOW10 to get 10% off your first order. So the blue blocker screens that we put on the iPads and iPhones, it's a help. It's
a huge help. And see, the one that the iPhone just came out with, the new iPhone's coming out with something called Night Shift. It's not good enough. You can see mine has a screen on it. I'll put it on. I don't know if you can see it. It blocks. It's got a screen that goes over it. On the computers, unfortunately, it's not on now because we're in the middle of the day. There's a program called Flux, F-L-U-X. Everybody should have it. Because at night when you use it, when I'm on the computer at night, I wear these. I have this, and I have all my skin covered. Okay? And the irony is that's the key. That's the time to keep your skin covered. But during the day is when you want to reverse the process. You want everything uncovered as much as you can. But the key stimulus, as soon as the sun rises, I want you looking in the direction of the sun. And what people need to understand, it's not going to hurt you in the morning because there's no UV light. There's no UVA, no UVB. The only place that's not true is at an equatorial existence. And right now, only 6% of the world's population lives on the equator. 94% live away from it. 80% are outside the tropics. So this information really is for everybody. We all need to be looking in the direction of the sun when it rises every morning. When you're driving in your car to work, what's the easiest biohack? I already told you that glass blocks UVA light. If you have a moonroof, open it up. You have a little window. You don't have to open it all the way up to freeze your ass off. Just crack it this much. You know why? The light gets in. That's that whole photoelectric effect. A little sliver will still get it in. This is what I do. Just like that. And you're getting it. I just bought my wife a brand new car. This will show you how she's changed. I just bought it 3 days ago. I bought her a hard top retractable convertible because she said to me, she goes, she goes, I need to be in a car that's going to give me sunlight way more. And my wife has got darker skin than I do. She's, I call her my brown princess because she gets really dark in the summertime. And the reason why it's a big deal for my wife is the darker your skin is, the more UV light you need. So I said to her, fine, I'm going to go out and buy you the car, because now she understands the importance of it. But the key thing is, my daughter's got skin like me. When they're together, I want them to get it. So now my wife is actively parenting by not telling my daughter what she's really doing. So when Callie says, oh yeah, we got this cool car, she's like, yeah, let's go put it in and put the top down. So when she goes to school in the morning, my daughter is getting light that before she would fight with my wife about.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that's a good practical application. Imagine teenagers resistant at many levels. So you got to be sneaky about it sometimes. Well, what about wearing just a hat, even if you're not wearing eyeglasses?
Well, you could do that.
Going to be fine?
There's a lot of different little tricks. The main thing that I want to give to people is to know that the sun in the morning is not our enemy. It's actually our friend. And any way y'all can do it, I want you to do it. And you don't have to tell people. This is the coolest part of what I'm teaching people. You don't have to tell people all the science. I don't have to teach you all that. I have a saying that I use with my members, and I'll share it with you here. You don't have to speak Mandarin Chinese to know that you like Chinese food, do you? So that means you don't need to know quantum physics. You don't need to know all the details of quantum electrodynamics like I do. Now, if you want to sit down with me and get a bottle of wine and have a discussion about really how this works, come down to New Orleans, no problem. I will blow your mind. All you have to do is read one of my blogs and you'll understand how detailed this goes. Why? Because I told you when we started this podcast, I am still pissed off that I was lied to for my whole life through, high school, college, medical school, that I did not learn this stuff. And the crazy thing is, it aggravates me. And it aggravates me to this day because I know how many people in the first 15 years of my career that I hurt. I didn't do it with intent, but I know that I hurt them. And that's the reason why I am passionate about not dealing in half-truths anymore. And Anna, when I see somebody who's dealing in a half-truth, I ain't that nice a guy.
No, you're forthright and forthcoming. But again, we're here on a journey for lessons and learning and for our best self, right? We have divine purposes within us. And one thing where I am angry is because, I grew up with food as medicine, traditional wisdom. My mom passed down Middle Eastern generational knowledge. And in America, she became very, very sick and died at age 67, undergoing her second heart surgery. And if I knew then what I know now, my mom would be celebrating her 88th birthday. But it's huge. It was such a big aspect of my growth as a doctor.
You're going to be able to teach all these ladies that are following you what you couldn't teach your mother.
Yeah.
So, to me, life is lived through the windshield, not through the rearview mirror. It may bother you because it's your family, but the thing is, no one can hold you at fault when you truly didn't know. That's part of my struggle, is that I know I didn't know, but I'm still pissed off about it. And when I talk to other doctors about this, A, they're usually floored, and B, the patients usually take to this way more because they've already had the existence that I had before, that they've tried everything and nothing else worked. And then they go, wait a minute, is it really this simple that I just have to embrace the sun, drink good water, and try to stay away from non-native electromagnetic fields? If you do those three things, those top three, I promise you, you will not get wallet biopsied by my profession. You'll probably stay as far away from my operating room table as possible. And the way I look at it, it's not that you're going to live to 120 years old, but this is what I tell people. You will live a full life. You'll die falling off your roof, replacing it at 80, 85 years old. Why? The key thing is, none of us want to be sick for 25 years before we die on 14,000 medications, spending more money on medicine than we do on food. And the key thing is, The other way that we raise dopamine, because there's lots of other ways to do it, is what we're doing now when we share with each other. One of the things I hate about our modern life is that we don't go out and talk to people anymore. We don't get outside. One of the things I love about my house here, since it's a walking city, every Friday and Saturday I go out and find tourists and I open up a bottle of champagne and I just share with them. And they like look at me like, is this normal? And I'm like, it's normal for the city.
Right. I always say the idea of sitting on the beach with a laptop will surely be the quickest route to death, loneliness, depression, and suicide. I mean, it is not our ideal existence. And I like what you said, we can agree to tear the rear view mirror off our wall. That's key. And thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and get those notifications, and comment below. Let me know your thoughts, what you've loved, and what your action step is.